Welcome to the MFR Coaches podcast, where we talk about how you can create a six-figure MFR practice. I'm your host, Heather Hommel. Not only have I been practicing MFR for 11 years, I'm also a life and business coach, especially for MFR therapists. My goal is for you to understand how to get fully booked, how to talk to your clients, and how to make sure they understand what's possible for them with MFR treatment. I'm here to help you stop under-earning, overworking, and burning out. I'll lend support so you can create the MFR practice you've always wanted. Learn how you can do it too, even if you live in a tiny town, and even if you're just starting out, and even if you've ran your practice for years. Let's go. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the MFR Coaches podcast. Today, we're going to do a deep dive with one of my clients and talk about the value of being in the mastermind. So Patti Calkins, she's a member of my Beyond 100K Mastermind, has been a long-term coaching client of mine for a while. Welcome back to the podcast. People have probably heard an episode with you before. You're an OG. I've had you on a lot. So welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Heather. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, it's fun to have you back. And it's fun to, I believe, I'll have my podcast editor connect the past episodes that we've done together so people can listen in and see in real time, basically, your progress from where you started to where you are now. And I just told you before we started the call that you are the highest earner at this point in time inside my entire program, throughout both programs. So how does it feel to learn that information?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm still in disbelief. So that's how it feels. I don't even understand, sometimes how I got here. So
yeah, well, I do. And so we're going to piece apart how this came to be. I remember the journey. And I think it's funny too to point out, like, we forget how hard it is, or like how much work, how much crying there was, how much uncomfortableness there was, all of those things once we get to where we wanted to go, once we get there so intentionally. And one of the things we were talking about on the mastermind call yesterday in the group was kind of romanticizing back when making a $500 sale or $1,000 sale or having $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month was the be all end all, was like crazy. And now tell us, like, what is an average month for you now? What does that look like?
Well, in 2024, my average month is over $19,000.
Yeah.
Some months I have had months as high as over 23,000 and some months lower. So my average is around 19, which is cuckoo.
It is cuckoo. And some people listening to this might be like, how is this happening? How is this possible? So let's tell people what your business model is, because I want to make it crystal clear to anyone that lands on my podcast that we do not create mill type businesses. There is not one person in my program that is seeing multiple clients an hour or seeing multiple clients at the same time. This is all one-on-one, at least hour-long treatments. And it's done with a trained MFR therapist. There's no funny business or trickery going on behind the scenes.
No. And I've seen as many as 17 people a week.
Mm-hmm. So slow that down again, okay? Like, because for people in the back of the bus, for people in the back of the line, she sees up to 17 people a week. Not a day, a week.
Right. And try not to see more than 4 people a day.
Mm-hmm. Which is amazing.
Yeah. And with good coaching, you've helped me see the value of not exceeding 15. So 15 is my new sweet spot, and I love it. But I don't work alone.
Yeah. So this is something that you've created while we've been working together, is the ability to hire someone. Let's talk about that for a little bit. And that's part of your business model. So Patti sees 15 people a week. And then the person that you've hired, how many people do they see a week?
We are in a temporary phase where we're playing with what it's like to have a third day. So our goal is 12 a week for her.
Okay.
And if she decides to stick with 3 days, 12 will be a permanent thing.
Amazing. So the maximum amount of people that are seen in your clinic per week is
27. We've
27.
pretty consistently, I used to see more, and now she sees those people, which is pretty great.
Yeah. And she's doing MFR only in your clinic.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, this is amazing. And I also want to point out another thing is you're located in Richmond, Virginia. There's a lot of therapists in your area. Many of them have been through coaching, are in coaching with me too. And this doesn't seem to be a problem because I know for the majority of you all, are all fully booked.
Right. Which is great.
And some are working towards fully booked. Yeah. So I just want to point out that you can be in a community, lots of expert level and below therapists, and all making great amounts of money. In fact, I think a few of you in the area would be considered top earners in my program, which is really incredible to see. Like in this concentrated area, you can have that many therapists making that amount of money. And there's still, I mean, you're booked out what, 6 weeks at a time? So you have a waiting list.
We're about 2 months.
Okay.
Have been 6 to 8 weeks for a very, very long time. Like probably 2 years we've been booked out that far. It kind of moved to 8 weeks in the last 6 months or so.
Mm-hmm. Which makes a lot of sense. You know, you're creating all of this demand for your services. People are more than starting to recognize who you are, what you do, what the results are that are possible. And you're really coming into your own. You, I think, are a very confident person, but your confidence level in selling MFR, in training your employee to sell MFR, and all of these things have really taken off, I believe, in this last year. Like I've really seen you go from hesitating to hiring and it not being like the best fit situation to being able to make quicker decisions and better decisions quicker, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And all inside the container of your coaching program. I literally could not have managed, some of you may have heard on the previous podcast that my first therapist, was like, I was learning a lot. I was learning a lot because this is my second therapist I've hired. And I was managing my mind a lot and I wasn't doing it alone. I was doing it with Heather's help. Heather, you really helped me so much because it's real easy when you're just figuring out the ropes as an employer to want to be friendly and want to be nice and want to be liked. And that doesn't really work. I mean, you can have respect and they can like you as a byproduct of what you're doing as an employer. But there's been a lot of growth for me in this area. And there's more to come for sure. I'm still learning.
Yeah. Like you're still just starting out, you're still learning the ropes of what it's like to be an employer, and really on the heels of just learning how to create a sustainable and thriving practice of your own. So it's like,
absolutely,
you do this foundational work to create that practice. It does good. And then all of a sudden you're like, now I'm going to introduce employment.
Yeah. And I'm not like you asked me at the time, what is, motivating you? And at the time I was having so many feelings about people having to wait 6 or more weeks for me. And it's funny because that just hasn't changed.
No.
Like there's 2 of us and at some point there were 3 of us and literally there was no reduction in time.
Right.
It has literally been that same amount of time the whole time period. So, I don't know how many more people that would change. And what's changed is my brain is like, oh, that's right. Like it's okay if they wait 6 to 8 weeks. That's just the way it is with my business.
Right. And I think that right there is worth the price of admission to either the foundations program or Beyond 100K right there, because nothing actually changed other than your ability to hold that thought about people waiting and about it being okay. You've been able to create safety around it for yourself and continue to sell and never stop selling MFR. Because there was this brief period of time where you were like, oh, I'm just going to kind of not sell for a while, get these people through, make sure I keep all these people in their spot or whatever. And we did some coaching on that to get clean around how we don't hold spots for people. We have spots available for people to take up, but we're continually selling MFR to whoever it is that wants that spot at that time. And it gives the responsibility back to the client to take those spots. And it relieves the responsibility of you to hold on to like, oh, well, Sally always likes Wednesdays at 1:30 p.m. So therefore I can never put anyone in because Sally might be mad at me. Here, Sally, is your link. If you'd like to remain in that spot, you go ahead and get yourself in there.
Yeah, there's been a lot of growth. And that particular piece, the mindset piece, you can get in the foundations program as well as in the mastermind program. I mean, I would say that's the biggest thing. It's always going to be the biggest thing is managing our minds.
Yeah. And let's talk about that for a minute, because I think a lot of people come into both programs with this idea of like, Heather's going to tell me what to do and all of the hacks and the behind the scene things. So like I can just do my way to what you have. And they come to find out that it really is an inner journey that they're going to go on. Now, some people are readily adaptable to go on that journey, and some people are so resistant because they really do think that I'm holding back, or there has to be some sort of hack to the system to get them there faster. The fastest way we've found is through your thoughts about yourself, your clients, and MFR as the modality that gets them there. That's like the basis of my program.
Yeah, for sure. You cannot have success without managing what's going on between your ears.
Yeah. And I mean, you probably could have success, but it might take you so much longer and it might feel so much worse getting there. The path to where you want to go is going to be just hard, I think.
Yeah. I mean, when I met you, I was booked out 5 weeks.
Yeah. And you thought everything was good.
Yeah. And I was having $5,000 months. I thought she's going to help me figure out how to raise my rates because I know it's time to do that. And I liked what you had in your Raise Your Rates boot camp. I was like, okay, I'm in. I think that this has value. I'm gonna come in and I'm just gonna have I'm gonna do my 10 things or whatever it is to hack the MFR business, and then I'm gonna be on my way. And it doesn't work like that. The things that you shared with me have helped me like in my life everywhere, really, just like MFR.
Yeah.
But it's helped me get over the hurdles of wanting everybody to like me or being hurt if somebody doesn't get that MFR is amazing or they only want to come once a month or whatever it is. I used to have like certain people that would really trigger me in my business, and I don't, either I'm not attracting them anymore or I'm not bothered by them anymore. I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. What do you think the value of that is, to not be triggered by anyone that comes into your business?
I think the value is that I can help everybody.
Yeah.
Like I don't get hung up on, oh, that person's just like, my mother. I think it's more subtle than that. You just start getting hackles on your, like that personality is irritating to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can just like prove to them that's what my brain used to think was like, if I could just prove to them that this is the thing or that I'm their person. And that just doesn't work because the whole, I'm holding back and I'm probably being very kind of unpleasant with them, not recognize my own behavior. So now I approach everybody like, this is something that's so amazing. It's going to help you. And if they don't think it's amazing and it's going to help them, then I say, okay, well, I wish you well. And sometimes they come back later. And sometimes I would say majority of the time they don't. But most people do. Like they're like, oh, that sounds like something I want to try.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we did this exercise in the group in Beyond 100K where we talked about all the different kind of profiles of all the different patients that come into our doors. and our thoughts about them, which was really fascinating because it was a lot of judgment, a lot of our own discomfort, a lot of us needing clients to show up in a certain way in order for us to serve them. And this is like across the board, me too, right? Like I go first. So I come up with these exercises after like my own awareness about how I've been treating people or how I interacted with clients. So I think being willing to do these micro analysis of what is my role in my ability to treat or not treat anyone that walks in the door, and when do I let go, right? So I think what we learned from that exercise was we can choose to treat anyone who walks in our door if we are willing to do the work to get neutral or to be willing to just be uncomfortable and do it anyway. And a lot less dependent on clients showing up in one certain way or another so that we can feel good about ourselves.
Right. I think most of us were kind of like, whoa, I'm the problem. It's not my client.
Yeah, which sucks, right? But it's also a miracle because we can change how we show up if we want.
Right. And we all had, some similar people, but we all had different people too.
Yeah.
Because we're all different. We all have our own history of people that trigger us and personalities that trigger us. And having that awareness when somebody comes in the room helps us help them, because we all know that MFR is like an amazing modality. It's going to change people's lives if we don't get in their way.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So it's that learning how to have that ultimate awareness around where am I the block here? Where am I the actual dam to them getting what is possible for them? Because I need them to tell me how great I am, or I need to feel like I can help them. This also came up when we talked about the idea of helping clients that don't have any sort of chronic or acute pain condition, and how uncomfortable that makes us as therapists when we have those kinds of people come into our office versus being like so excited for them that they have not yet had that experience, and how much prevention we can help provide for them for their entire lifetime.
Absolutely. And, it's been in the last few months, I've started getting people coming in and they're like, I'm here because I want the emotional connection to my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, what has shifted? I love it. I absolutely love it. But it does make you stop and go, oh, what do I work on first? Like it changes how you're approaching them. And the conversation changes too, because you're not talking about like, where do you feel pain? You're talking about, are you uncomfortable? Do you feel, tension somewhere? Where does the stress show up? That kind of stuff. Like the conversation changes completely.
Yeah. It makes you have to kind of shift your thinking about what it is that they want and what you can provide. And it makes you also have to believe that you can help them as well as someone else with a really hard pain condition. So it's really fascinating. And I think the deeper work that we do, the scaling work that we do on scaling your mindset and thinking about these things, so detailed, it really helps you to be able to help more people deeper because you don't discount them when they come in. You don't decide that you can't help them. You don't refer them out to some other modality because you're uncomfortable serving them.
Yeah, absolutely.
MFR therapists, if you've made 50K or more in the last 12 months, are fully booked or super close, it's time to consider joining my program Beyond 100K. Inside this 6-month mastermind, you'll work closely with me and other leaders in the MFR industry to scale your mindset, the way you serve your clients, and the way you sell to your clients. And you'll also have the opportunity to scale how much revenue you create by working on a second offer or hiring another therapist to join your practice. I'll show you how. You'll have access to all my processes as well as access to other therapists who are doing these things too. The best way to grow our industry and create access is by having financially successful business owners in more places. If you are passionate about helping your clients, want to earn more money, take more time off, and be an industry leader, it's time to apply for the Beyond 100K Mastermind. Applications open October 14th through 18th. Apply in the first 48 hours and receive a private bonus one-on-one call with me upon your acceptance. Get on my waitlist by going to www.themfrcoach.com and click the Beyond 100K link. Here's how it works. Step 1, get on the waitlist. Step 2, apply in the first 48 hours so you get that bonus call with me. Step 3, book your free sales call right after you submit that application, and I'll personally answer all of your questions. Get on that waitlist and mark your schedule to turn in your application starting on October 14th. I can't wait to see what you create and how many clients you serve when you scale your MFR business beyond 100K. Let's talk a little bit about what scaling means to you. Beyond 100K is a scaling mastermind. We scale your ability to serve clients. We scale your thought work. We scale your mind management. We also scale your ability to take more time off, and we scale your ability to make more money. When you came into that, what kind of was your idea of what you were going to be scaling, or what did that mean to you?
Oh, I for sure thought it was about making more money.
Yeah.
Like my brain was like, oh, it's just making more money. But I mean, for me, it's been figuring out how to take care of myself, that on its own, because I can't keep doing what I'm doing if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, because I've burned myself out.
Yeah.
And I didn't even, because it was just overdoing it by two people. It was subtle. I mean, my husband noticed it. He kept saying, are you sure you really want to see 5 people a day? Because at one point I was like, I'm going to see 5 people 3 days a week. And he was like, are you sure about that? Because you seem really tired on those days. I was like, oh, no, I think I'll be fine. It's that same like disconnection that our clients have. It's like, we see that they're disconnected from their body, but I was having that same experience, disconnected from my reality.
Yeah.
That I had grown more and more tired and unable to sort of life when I wasn't working. Like I could show up and be Patti, the MFR therapist, but when I was coming home, I wasn't really able to do that. So, I mean, I've made more money, yes. And I've like moved into a larger suite, all with your support. The most important thing you said to me was, make sure that you can afford that suite on your own. And I think about that all the time, because I think, well, there's no guarantee that anybody will stay.
Yeah.
In fact, massage industry we have a lot of people who come and go. So that's a reality.
Yeah. It doesn't promote longevity.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a real thing to think about. So that was helpful to me, which, obviously has helped me support another MFR therapist in town, which I love. But it's also helped us reach out to more people in our community. But I think that was just one of the layers, one of the many layers, figuring out how to take care of myself and then figuring out how that had value in my business.
Yeah, because it's really hard to pause and take time off when you feel like there's this urgency to do things in your business, and that if you don't urgently take care of them, you're going to miss out or miss an opportunity. And I've had conversations with you where I'm like, you just need to stop. Like you need to take a day or a week and just be still. Don't plan a bunch of stuff. Don't get occupied. Just be not occupied.
Yeah. And I'm still working on that.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if it's, my personality. I do think a big part of it is coming from the world of physical therapy where, I've seen up to 25 people a day.
Yeah.
So seeing 4 people a day seems pretty cushy. Why couldn't I just do more? And seeing clients is just a part of the job, when you own a business. There's all the layers, like you could keep yourself busy endlessly.
Yeah.
And I had to create boundaries around that. Like take my days off. I was, finding myself just sitting on the couch and doing stuff.
Yeah.
And now I don't let myself do that. Like I am really trying to do things that are healing on my day off. And that's with your encouragement. It really is. But it took me, months to get there. I was feeling really more than worn. I was like, am I depressed? And I really was just not taking, I just needed more time.
Yeah. I also think too, Patti, when you are moving at the pace that you're moving and growing both personally and professionally at the pace that you've been going, there is this time like where you almost do feel depressed or you grieve like what you had before. It's almost like romanticizing. Remember when like our business was so cute and adorable and like we just like had a few clients or and then we got fully booked and we were booked out, but we didn't know what we didn't know then. And then you get to the point where you've set it up to feel good, but you haven't made the choice to feel good. You haven't made the choice to actually use that time off that you've built in to actually take time off and breathe or even celebrate or even feel proud about what you've accomplished. Like, because our brain gets focused on the next thing. And it's so easy to create the next thing because you have all the tools and all the power and all the finances. Like you have everything you need to do the next thing. So why would you wait? Why would you go slow to go fast? But you're finding that out right now.
Right. I just keep thinking about the word like nurturing myself. I think it was really, and this is maybe fairly deep, but I just really think I'm coming to this sort of epiphany that I have a history of not really thinking like there's a deeper layer of like, you don't really deserve this, right? So, when you feel like that, you do crappy stuff, like you overwork and you're doing it to save the world or whatever.
Yeah. And to avoid that emotion that brings those tears to your eyes, like I can see it in your eyes.
And to avoid feeling bad.
Like we will avoid that at all costs versus like just allowing ourselves to feel and have that awareness around how much you think you don't deserve it and how scary it is to have what you want.
Yeah. And what do you do with it? It's like, what do I do now?
Yeah, you rest. That's what, like, your only assignment lately has been to rest and feel accomplished.
Yes.
And then rest and feel proud, rest and feel deserving. Right. And it's like, I don't know other people besides us in our community, right, that are taking the time to feel these things on purpose because many of us don't even know what proud feels like in our body, what accomplishment feels like in our body. We only know fight or flight. We only know sadness and depression. We only know anger and heartbreak. So if those are your default things because you're so well practiced at it, when you don't feel those things, your body is going to think something's wrong.
Yeah.
Until you teach it that accomplishment, relaxed, all of these things are actually your new normal. But it doesn't just come overnight. It doesn't come with 1 week off.
No. I mean, you have said all along, and I block out your schedule, make sure you have your time marked off way, way, way out. And I've done that. Like last year I had 2 weeks off in a row. I probably took 6 or 8 weeks off because we had a grandbaby join our family.
Yes.
And this year, even more. And in fact, I'm going to Maine on Saturday for a whole week. And I'm blocked out for Thanksgiving and Christmas already.
Good.
Yeah. And vacation, some reason, the rules are different, right? Like you go on vacation, it's like, oh, well, I'm not at home. It didn't bring my computer. I'm not going to like be doing that work thing. Except that when you have an employee, you still sometimes get contacted, but that's minor.
Yeah. I mean, when you have your own business and you're an entrepreneur, it is harder to disconnect, right? You have to really make yourself do it and set yourself up to be okay with whatever the results are from that purposeful disconnection.
Yeah.
Like I don't check my client inbox anymore. I have someone else that does it for me. And it's one of the hardest things for me because I love serving my clients and I don't like for them to wait and I don't like for them to have a question and it doesn't get answered, but it's a really good practice of people can wait and probably solve their own problem if they wait long enough, if they get creative, and nobody's going to die from me not answering a coaching question. It's difficult for me, but I practice it over and over and I talk about how hard it is for me. I talk about it and it's just been really good for me to not constantly check that and reply to emails and do it 24 hours a day. I'm working on not coaching people 24 hours a day in the Facebook group. That's my next thing. Working on it.
Yes. Well, I mean, I guess some of us probably have DMs coming through
Mhm.
and some Facebook messages. I occasionally get those too. But, we get text messages and scheduling issues and it's the same thing. Like I think if you can figure out how to manage your days and nights at home and create firmer boundaries, I think that you're going to do vacation better too. You're also going to have better relationships. And if you have better relationships, you're not going to find yourself standing alone in your business at the end of the day. Like,
Right.
stand on top of the pile of money that's probably not going to last very long if you're there by yourself and really unhappy. I mean,
Exactly.
if you're unhappy, you're just going to spread it all over your clients and your potentially employees. And that, I didn't want that.
No. And I think that's a good point too, is like part of the scaling process is really being willing to look into the areas where you feel really happy and accomplished. And like you were noticing, like you feel happy and accomplished at work, but when you go home, like you're done. Like your husband was noticing that. And then where do you feel not happy and accomplished? And does it match like the level of the person that you are creating? Does the most successful version of you have a happy life and marriage and a happy business that does all of the businessy things? And I think working on both at the same time to make sure that they match the person that you want to be when you're the best version of yourself. I've been playing with that a lot lately this year of like, I've been married since I was 21. I think it's 24, 23. I don't know, 23 years. I've been married longer than I ever wasn't married. And I think sometimes it's my husband's responsibility to make me happy. And I've learned that it's not like if I'm not happy, he's not happy. Just like when he's not happy, I'm not happy. So it's really up to me to do the work in that relationship as hard as I work in my business, as hard as I would serve my MFR therapist clients. Like I've got to serve in that relationship as well. That doesn't mean I'm making him dinner, but it just means like I'm trying to show up as my best version.
Yes. But I really do think that if we're not tending our home life, our personal life, that's going to bleed over into our business life.
And vice versa. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because who's the machine? We are the machine.
Yeah.
But it's really been profound to me. And I think it's self coaching is my tool to manage my mind in all areas of my life. And when it feels overwhelming, then you're helping me manage my mind. And the underlayer of that is all the MFR I receive,
Yep.
that I've invested in. And you've encouraged all of us to not just think that MFR is something that we get when we go to vacation series or when we go away for a tea for tea. We are getting MFR on a regular basis. So we are taking care of ourselves. And that's where I'm like starting to see really deep, deep messages coming through in my life. I think it's all of it. It's not just one thing, but the more MFR I do, the more I get coached, just the better like life just feels. It's like I can see all the puzzle pieces coming together.
Yeah, because it's never just one thing is the best thing, but it's nice when you have multiple best things that all work together and all create this really great, juicy, and delicious outcome of feeling amazing. And we don't feel amazing 100% of the time. Life is 50-50, but it is so nice to have that awareness of like, I feel good. Like my business is good right now, right here in this moment. And I'm not waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm just enjoying this here. And when it's the other 50-50 and everything feels like it's gone to shit, realizing like this doesn't last forever. Life is 50-50, and I have the tools to manage this river of misery. I'm going to build a raft and I'm going to get to the edge eventually. And it doesn't have to be so terrible. Like you can even enjoy the parts that are shitty.
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, afterwards. You're like, wait, no.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get there. I mean, I like while I've been taking better care of myself, I've had a lot of stuff come up. I mean, there was a period I was like, please, let's not give me one more thing to figure out in my personal life.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, good. I got through that. Like the cloud moved away and then it's back. But because I think I'm taking better care of myself, thanks to all of the encouragement and all the layers, I'm able to still show up in so many other areas and simultaneously manage my mind when I have things coming up that I'd rather
Yeah.
not have to deal with. But,
Lifing at you.
that's just the way it is. I'm human and I'm keep living my life.
What would you tell to people that are thinking about, they're probably in our foundations program right now, or they're a therapist that's probably worked with me before, and they're like, do I join beyond 100K? Do I stay in foundations? What do you think is necessary to really thrive in beyond 100K?
That's interesting because, since I've done both, you've had two groups over the last year, your first two groups, and I've been in both of them. And it's so interesting to see all the different things that people bring to the table in that container. I think the sort of short way to say it is if you feel like you've got a pretty good handle on the foundations program, you're fully booked, you've raised your rates, you feel good about your rates, you're feeling like you're in a really good space in your business and you're imagining something more, I think it's worth investing and investigating because you're very good at helping people like figure out what their superpower is if they want to pursue a second stream of income or people have added employees like I have or contractors. There's lots of opportunities, or it's just to get really good at what you're like. If you want to kind of go to the next level, I feel like it's the next level. We're like doing deeper work because we've got a good handle on the foundation issues. Not to say we don't go back and review them.
We do.
You just, I mean, I can't tell you how many times you have said, go do raise your rates or go back and do the belief work, which I think that's probably the most common statement is go back and do the belief work. But it's kind of like going back and repeating a course.
Yeah. Go back to MFR1.
Yeah, go do MFR1 again.
Yeah.
Same idea. But I think that encapsulates the basics because there's so many different ways to pursue the next level inside the mastermind container.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the main point is it is a scaling group where we scale your mindset and we scale your selling abilities. We do advanced sales talks and we really talk about what it means to scale how you serve your clients and how you think about yourself and MFR and your clients together in that triad. And making more money and taking more time off are a byproduct of all of that work. So whether you decide to scale with a second offer or just scale, like work really deeply to scale your mindset, or you want to hire someone, that comes from doing those micro things that we do inside that group. It all comes. The money, the time off, the expansion, the awareness, all of it. So, and you're a good example of it, right? You not only hired, you've fired, you've hired, you've taken more time off than ever and made more money than ever in a short amount of time and become the highest earner in the program, which is really cool.
Ah. Yes, to all of that. There'll be somebody else in the not too distant future.
Yeah, there's so much room for everybody at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And our mountain is just going to get bigger and bigger the more people who decide to really invest in the ability to sell their skill of MFR and to serve their clients with MFR versus just learning the hands-on technique and stopping there, thinking that that's enough. Because you invest so much money in that skill set, in the hands-on skill set, the modality of MFR. Why would you stop there and not learn how to appropriately sell it and maximize
Maximize, I think, but I like maximalize.
Yeah, maximize like how many people you can help over the lifetime of your business and make MFR mainstream by having a vital, thriving business in locations where there aren't any businesses currently.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you just look at Richmond where I live. I mean, for a long time, it was one person. And now it's like, I don't know, 10 plus, and almost everybody has been coached by you. I mean, that's like really hugely expansive. And our city's really just, it's not that big.
Yeah.
When you think about that, like we were talking to somebody who's in San Francisco and it's whatever, 7 million people there. Like, oh, well, who cares if there's 100 therapists? Because how many people can 100 people serve?
You couldn't even in your lifetime touch that many bodies.
No, I mean, and still, I mean, my business, maybe 20, we're seeing 27. Sometimes people come twice in a week, and sometimes people come for immersive. So sometimes we're seeing, same person 6 times. I mean, maybe we're only seeing 15 people or 20 people. That's hardly anything in a town of 1 million people.
Yeah. But also making over $200,000 in a year doing that, which is incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Who knew that you could make doctor money being an MFR therapist?
Right?
Working 20 hours or less a week. Like, who knew that? Who knows that?
I didn't.
But that's what's happening.
I mean, that my husband talks about that all the time. And he's like, when you said you wanted to do this, I thought maybe you'd make 50K when you got further down the road. And I made more than that in the first year.
I know. Like, there will come a time where people opt in to be an MFR therapist because of how lucrative it is and how rewarding it is based on the facts of other people doing it. The same way people opt into careers like lawyering, medical field, those kinds of jobs, because they're seen as like the success jobs. And I just think about that all the time, about what that says about our industry when that starts to happen, when people can see leaders like you in the community doing this, doing it with ease and purpose and no shame in creating the money, right? And being proud of the results of that and really earning it and still being fully booked out 8 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's incredible. It's what's possible. It's not just a fluke for you. There's many people that are right on your heels as highest earner that are all doing it in the same way. Not with employees though.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what sets you apart too.
Well, I mean, they could make their lives easier, maybe. I mean, it's not an easy path.
Yeah.
But, at least the first part's not easy unless you plan better than I did, which I didn't.
Well, but once you knew the tools and the things that you needed to have in place, like you made it work for you. It just, you don't know what you don't know until you know it.
It was a little bumpy ride, but that's okay.
It's okay.
Sometimes there's turbulence when you fly.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being so open and honest about all of these topics and sharing what it's been like for you and the results that you've created while being in Beyond 100K.
Thank you.
And for anyone listening, enrollment into Beyond 100K is happening via application October 14th through the 18th. So get on the wait list and apply during the application period. What will happen is you'll turn in your application, you'll book a sales call with me, and on that call, we will determine if you are the best fit for the group at this time. And then we'll get you in the program. The program starts January 7th. Calls are on Tuesdays from 2 to 4 p.m. every other Tuesday starting January 7th. All right. You can go to my website, www.themfrcoach.com, click on the Beyond 100K link for more information. And Patti, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at ExhaleRVA. You can find me on the website at www.exhalemfr.com and Exhale Myofascial Release RVA for Facebook.
Amazing. All right, everybody. If you're in the Richmond, Virginia area, make sure you schedule way in advance and book a session with Patti. You won't be sad you did. And I will see all of you next week on another episode of the MFR Coaches Podcast. Bye for now. Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a minute and rate and review the podcast. I appreciate it. For more information, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The MFR Coach. And check out my website, www.themfrcoach.com, for more information. If you are currently not working 20 hours or less and making 6 figures in your MFR business, I want to help you change that. Make sure you tune into the show and get on my email list so you never miss out on important trainings and information. To be the first to find out when we are enrolling next for my 12-month Business Foundations coaching program, get on that email list at www.themfrcoach.com/join. Inside this program, you'll learn how to raise your rate, overcome objections, and sell MFR. You'll become the MFR therapist that never under-earns and never burns out. It's up to us to make MFR mainstream, and it starts with you and your successful MFR practice. See you next week.